Well, greetings and salutations, FINRA and NASA test takers. This is Dean Tenney coming to you from my studio in fabulous Las Vegas. Just waiting for my wingman, the test geek, Brian Lee, to log back in. He had a little echo going on, so we're hoping we can get his sound fixed, but no problem. We can fly solo if need be. Tell us what series your exam you're taking, where you're joining us from. This Thursday, we'll be doing a premiere of a 63 practice test. And you can help us out by, in your question, just telling us what exam you're actually taking. And let me just show you that. Let me get rid of this. And that helps us kind of determine whether it's something you need to worry about. So Brian and I don't spend a lot of time saying, are you taking this or that? And because the test issues would be different depending on what you're taking. We start each of our Tuesday night live streams with brief and debrief, like what you can encounter and what you don't have to take our word for. Debrief is after somebody tests. I do have some odd things, Brian, and it'll be interesting to see if you heard some of the feedback I've got this week. But what we're interested in, kind of letting you know what you could expect to be on the test and what is not on the test. I get so aggravated with test prep vendors who send people down, rabbit holes that they don't get tested on. So, if you're not quite sure, this is another time and place for you to get answers on that. As I said, we usually have victorious test takers as well. So you don't have to take Brian or Dean's word about something, even though I wish you would. I mean, because sometimes there's not confirmation available for you. And, I don't know about you, Brian, I get aggravated sometimes when people say, really? I'm like, no, I'm lying to you. That's how I've been in the business 30 years, right? Now, I think we are all should be prepared for this one. This is from the 65, 66. I always tell people to be prepared about the benchmark for large cap being S&P 500, knowing the Dow is price weighted, knowing the Russell 2000 is for small caps. And maybe I didn't emphasize that the other answer that could be in the answer set, it would be appropriate for a international benchmark would be EAFE, right? Europe, Australasia, and the Far East. So just want to make sure I emphasize this one. I've been trying to track down for a long time. This is both 65 and 66. And people keep telling me they've seen a question like this. I think I finally kind of pinned it down a little bit. This is really asking you this question about the quick assets of the firm. So the question they encounter was something along the lines of what is the least likely between cash, inventory, accounts receivable, and I got this wrong. My banner inventory, it's in there. So that would be the B choice. And you should have definitely been able to toss out the inventory, right? Because to turn that to cash, we may not be able to get what we'd like in terms of margin. I really think this is a camouflage question about quick assets. But I did want to point out, because we keep getting feedback like, well, they didn't just tell me current assets or quick assets. They gave me these accounting entries, these ledger entries. And I go, okay, so what ledger entries did you encounter? So I think we finally got this one. Brian, I'd be interested in this on Series 6 debrief. Somebody said, I've never heard of somebody getting this question before, a springable, durable power of attorney. Have you ever heard of this, Brian?
Never.
So this has been showing up this last week. I've had more than one person taking a 6 tell me they've encountered this question about a springing, durable power of attorney. And this is a power of attorney that takes operation. It becomes active if you're legally incapacitated. At that point, it springs into action. Until then, it's not effective. So anyway, it's a weird one. Brian hasn't heard of it. I've never heard of it until this week. So, what can I tell you? All right. So that was for this week. We get more, but it's just the normal stuff. So unless it's kind of like an oddball thing, I typically don't go through it with you. But if you're interested, when we're all done tonight, I do have another debrief here. It's a little longer, but it's all the stuff we already know that's on the test. So we'll get on to answering questions. Series playlists on the channel. The best way to access the best free supplement to your paid study materials is my YouTube channel, and I organize it by series playlists. So you would go find your series playlist. I have it in suggested watch order. It's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. I was telling Brian, somebody did his 66 in the playlist, his practice test. I always tell you how great they are in terms of correlation, but they actually said they had 2 or 3 points that were almost spot on to Brian's exam. So, make sure you check out the playlist. I usually have at least an explication. I have some practice exams. I have some narrative lectures. Knock yourself out. Check out the community page. I put a lot of polls up there talking about what you think we should be doing in terms of the channel. Right now, I'm thinking about maybe doing a monthly workshop on options, and I would appreciate your input on that. We have a subreddit now for Series 6. In terms of paid supplements, listen, ladies and gentlemen, it is not time to be frugal. If you feel you need some extra, resources, you should spend the money. I would think of it as an investment. So Kaplan's QBank and the quick sheets are excellent. Any Kaplan product at checkout, you can put in Guru 10, get a 10% discount. And Brian has been kind enough to provide our viewers with two things. He allows us to exploit his content on the channel, so you can go get a, kind of a free look there. But he also, more importantly, gives you a 20% discount for all his stuff. He has great practice exams. He has what he calls his quick notes, and then he has his video course all in with the discount. It's about $100 for his whole video courses. So check that out. I'll put up his contact information and that website at the end of the call or along the way. We started a new thing we've been doing at the end of each of our weekly live streams, and it's a drawing for a 30-minute coaching call. That coaching call, if you win, will be Thursday, January 19th, 5 p.m. There's been some confusion about what that means. So I'm just not calling it tutoring. It's whatever you want for 30 minutes. But I don't want to call it tutoring because I don't sell 30-minute tutoring increments. I don't want somebody seeing 30 minutes of tutoring and thinking, oh, well, how come I can't do that? You can share this with somebody else if you'd like. You can transfer it to someone else if you want. Whatever you want to do, you send me your agenda if you win it. You need to claim it. You have to be present to claim it, kind of thing. You need to send me an hour email within 1 hour claiming this coaching call, because I don't like leave it open and then somebody tells their friend, and then 2 days later I hear from somebody. So within an hour of you winning that drawing, I expect a confirmation email for it. All right, so let's get started. If you submit your questions early, I'm more than happy to put you at the front of the queue. So I don't know, Jennifer, you're in the chat yet. I haven't gone over the chat. As soon as I get this done, I will. Again, the format QS24. You can chat amongst yourself while I'm going over stuff that may not be relevant to your exam. And one of the 24s we're asking. I was thinking, Brian, about breaking out a separate live stream for our 24s. And I decided not to, because I think it's worthwhile to have them join us. And then also it makes it easier for, people who might be going on the 24. Long story short, welcome 9s, 10s, 24s. You're welcome in the live stream. Anyways, the question was about Reg M, Rule 101, 102, 103, 104, and 105. So Rule 101 is about the restricted period. There's a conflict of interest on the banking side when we're doing a follow-on offering in the primary market at the same time that we're active in the secondary market. And so Rule 101 establishes a restricted period for activities that are going to be restricted within that period. It depends on the flow, typically 5 days. And what it prevents, Rule 102, is we're not supposed to be bidding during the restricted period. It's kind of, we make sure there's no shenanigans in the secondary market while we're participating in that. Passive bid. So we can either withdraw our quotes if we're a market maker in the follow-on, or we can go passive. That's Rule 103. If we go passive, I tell my guy who's the trader, what do you want to do? You want to withdraw, or do you want to go passive? He's typically say, I'd like to go passive, he or she. And then the bid can't be higher than the independent bid, because again, we're trying to make sure you're not giving the false impression of market activity and it's going up. There's exceptions, always exceptions. And so, FINRA says, what's that about? I said, well, that was a customer limit. That's a customer who told me to buy the stock. That's not me being active in the secondary market. That's my customer. Now, if we do go passive, we're limited to 30% of the average daily trading volume. So that was the first question from our 24 this whole period. The next question from our 24 is about a stabilizing bid. So in a firm commitment underwriting or a fixed price offering, for example, Morgan Stanley was the lead manager for the IPO for Facebook. That was a firm commitment underwriting at 38. The syndicate told Facebook, the issuer, as far as they're concerned, all that stock is sold at 38. Now, the problem was they had more sellers than buyers. So Michael Grimes, the Series 24, legendary general securities principal of Morgan Stanley's Silicon Valley banking operation, stabilized it at 38. So you say, gee, Dean, it's kind of weird. It's not going anywhere. Nobody's going to buy our new stock at 38 if they can buy it in the secondary market for less than that. This is a legal form of pegging. This is timestamp 10 minutes in, and I have a whole lecture on pegging, legal and not legal. This is a legal form of pegging. So we only can have one person who is the stabilizing agent. It's usually the lead underwriter. And that price has to be at or below the public offering price. Very, very testable. Now, in my Facebook example, Michael Grimes said, we've been stabilizing the issue for the last day or two, and we spent $200 million doing so. Yeah. Tomorrow, we're going to remove our stabilizing bid, and it will find its natural price. Now, one of the problems was UBS. UBS had a technical glitch, and it was their customers that were dumping the stock immediately. They were looking at their accounts and couldn't figure out, did they get the Facebook? Did they not? And they were hitting buy, sell, buy, sell. We're not going to pay UBS for messing up. So the last question is about a penalty bid. So if it's UBS's customers that are the ones who are making this thing be sticky, I'm joking, that's not a test term, but IPO either stands for instant profit opportunity, it's hot, or IPO stands for it's probably overpriced, it's sticky, right? So here we're talking about something that's sticky, and so we're not going to pay you. So that's what the penalty bid is all about. And I think that one more, Rule 105. So Rule 105 is about short positions. Any short positions we take, again, we're talking about a follow-on offering, within 5 business days, the effective date, we can't use, the way I think it is, I can't use my green shoe. I can't cover the short position by getting the stock from the issuer. So that's what Rule 105 is about. So I hope that's helpful. Like I say, I will in the replay put a timestamp for 10 minutes with the appropriate lecture where you can get 20, 30 minutes on this.
Dean, probably nobody notices but me. You use a lot of old boy terms.
I do. Well, I'm an OG.
Terms and ages.
I'm an OG. So
sticky issues and hot issues.
Yeah. I don't like when we get rid of our old OG terms.
I know.
It makes sense. So Brian's he's again, I think, being nice. He's telling you that Dean's terminology, vocabulary is not testable. I think I did say that, but
yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay, so Indianapolis. Oh, I hope I'll get back to Indianapolis. Okay, so we got the Indianapolis. Are you Schwabi? Schwab's got a huge operation in Indianapolis.
I have a great story about Indianapolis. I taught a class there a long time ago.
Did you go to the Indy 500?
No. It was like this time of year. It was like January.
Lisa, you're joining us. By the way, remember, if you're in chat, the chat doesn't show up on the replays, but just for your own, privacy issues. So you don't have to answer me, Lisa, if I say, "Oh, are you at Vanguard, North Carolina? Are you at Bank of America?" But it's I kind of like, where's that Waldo thing, right? Where, Series 7, 66. Okay. 7. There you go. Eli, Saturday. No, Eli, I'm trying to get that up for you. Eli had a good idea for a video, Brian, where I just go through the difference between 9s and 10s. And I'm trying, Eli, in my own mind, to organize it in a fashion that I think it could be a video by Saturday. So we'll see if I get that done. Series 7. Woohoo. Yeah, mutual funds, equities, and options. I think that's pretty good. I'd add Savannah Munis in there. So I would add Munis on that. Savannah, are you taking the SIE or are you taking the Series 7? Sounds more like a Series 7 kind of a comment. Certainly you like past perfect, Jess? Well, gee whiz, yeah, that's a small club.
Yes, it is. Very exclusive.
Series 7. No, I had Eli. Kind of funny when you book tutoring. I have an automated tutoring page, and I apologize. I have so many people contacting me. I think of myself as being pretty good at returning emails and things like that, but sometimes it falls through the cracks if I'm not using my automated booking page. Anyways, I had a guy Sunday night, Eli, and I thought it was a guy I was tutoring on the 7, and I showed up, and then he said, "Dino, I'm taking the 9 tomorrow morning." I had like 3 Michaels. We went over there. We covered everything, Eli. We've no surprises on what we thought he was going to see. So we just need to find you some points, Eli, and I'm sure we can find that. So I haven't had anybody tell me anything, out of the ordinary on the 9. So, hey, Erica, welcome. Erica's working hard. Erica passed her SIE. I was so happy. Erica, you're one of the test takers who speaks to me, and here's why you speak to me, because I was so worried on your SIE that you were going to go down some rabbit holes with Past Perfect, and And I'm so glad you did not. And I'm glad you're, active in getting confirmation on what is something you need to worry about and what something's not. So, Erica, I'm hoping we're going to get you that trifecta, that hat trick, and get all those registrations done for you. I appreciate your hard work. You're a hard-working person. I know you're studying. Don't work too hard. Don't wear yourself out. But, Hi, Mark Anthony. Oh, well, of course, David. What lectures do I recommend? Of course, I recommend my 63 playlist. So make sure, David, there's a 63 practice exam that I'll be premiering Thursday. I run a live chat alongside that. So if you want to join me Thursday, I'll be there during chat while that's premiering. It's nowhere near as good as Brian's 63. So, David, to make sure at least you do the practice exams, you've got a Kaplan practice exam. You've got a Test Geek practice exam, and now you got this Mometrics. They gave me permission. Yeah, I've been asking people what they think about them, and people say they think they're worthwhile just to get different phraseology. But there's the best correlation, David, is Brian's Test Geek 63 practice exam. In all our practice exams, Brian has the best correlation for the actual exam. So make sure you do those as a minimum. And then I have the Mighty 90, which I highly recommend. No surprise. It's 90 minutes on the Uniform Securities Act. You'll appreciate this, Brian. What I actually did was compress a half a day 63 class into 90 minutes. So it's it's moving pretty quick.
Yeah, I bet.
I think exciting and nervous is the right state to be in as a test taker, Edgar. I mean, just as long as it's not paralyzing. Last minute tips: get a good night's sleep. Watch the Series 6 in 60 minutes. I like that. And most important thing is be confident in yourself and be confident in your answers. Don't be changing answers. You've executed your study plan, so we'll be sending you good testing vibes. You got any last minute for him, Brian?
Drink heavily. No.
Drink heavily.
No. Well, I'm kidding.
Edgar, I would say this. Some people need to have a circadian rhythm like me. I need to slow down. So when I take a test, I like to go have a huge breakfast. Other people I think need to kind of be slapped around and speed up. So, try and make sure you got a good circadian rhythm as much as you can tomorrow. Lots of questions with answer choices like Kaplan's. On the NASA exams, I think 3 or 4 mark on multiples of multiples. What do you think, Brian? I don't think it's a huge thing.
NASA's the only one that still's using
That's exactly
Roman
right.
numerals.
It's one of my pet peeves that the other test prep vendors, they've had them for years because they used to be on there and they won't cull their Q bank. So people think there's going to be a lot of those. There's none on FINRA exams, only 3 or 4 on NASA exams. So, yeah, well, I don't know about the Lord's work, but Dempsey, sometimes people do have a very high expectation on a self-serve free YouTube channel. So
I thought there was a little glow around you lately.
Yeah, there you go. The QBank Kaplan QBank is the best. So, Brian
so.
and I have been talking about, collaborations, further collaborations. And one of the things we had considered is a QBank, but it's kind of like why reinvent the wheel when you can get the best QBank. I was telling Brian, a lot of the other, I want to make sure people are clear what I'm saying. I consider Brian to be a paid supplement, a bridge from your paid study materials to the actual exam. I think Brian has made it clear that's what he is. And I think he's wonderful at it. I think he's the best bridge. Now, Achievable, a lot of people use it as a paid supplement. I don't have any issue with Achievable, except I don't think the correlation, I am confident that the correlation on their exam, like I am with Brian, but that's probably because I've used Brian in a real setting where careers are at risk and, there's some data. Listen, Achievable's told me they got plenty of data, but that's where I get a little worried when somebody is considering that. And Brian, I was telling Brian today, sometimes when I'm going to bat for Brian, I get no commissions from Brian. But when I'm saying, hey, why don't you check out the Test Geek? One of the things I'll say is, well, you get Achievable, you get a lot more questions. And I say, well, okay, well, that's true. But I mean, that's, it's a different thing. I mean, and what I usually tell people is, well, if you're interested in more questions, get the Kaplan QBank if you don't already have it. Add that with the Test Geek. And now you're talking, I think, the best paid supplement out there. I have no issues if that Achievable is your paid study materials. I'm talking about using it as a supplement. And the other thing is, don't abandon the scores reflect or correlate to the exam. There you go. If you want just the final Zelda, The PDF. Now, listen, I don't know why people get confused. It's just the PDF, but I like the PDF because you have a physical copy of it. You can, write it up or, make poor man's flashcards. And I think it's like $20 or something. But Zelda, we don't want to mislead you. All you're getting is the PDF. So I've had a couple of people call and say, all I got was the PDF. I said, well, I think we told you for $20. Then you get Brian's answer again, rationale, which can be helpful because you're watching on the channel, watch me doing Brian's practice exam. I'm giving you my own rationale, not Brian's. And, if you have that physical copy there, it might be, you can watch along while I'm doing it. People always ask, well, can you send me a PDF? I'm like, no. But if you're on the channel with Brian's content, you can get a physical dead tree version of whatever you're looking at. You can print it on your own printer. Welcome, Eric, from LinkedIn. We broadcast to LinkedIn, we broadcast to Twitter, and we broadcast to Facebook and YouTube. So, Eric, welcome. Oh, well, there you go. I'm so glad. I'm Eric trying to put more content out for the sixes because I feel like they get neglected, and I'm guilty too, where I have lots of content for the SIE, lots of content for the 7, lots for the 65 and 66. And then I got this 6 where I think I have some worthwhile stuff there, but I'm trying to beef it up. There'll be another practice exam next week that you can find in the 6 playlist as well. And I appreciate referrals. Love it, Eric. So thank you so much for referrals. The business is pretty simple on getting viewers. I mean, if people pass, they're happy, and we hope that we've been made a contribution and they tell others. So it's not a free hour tutoring, Drew. What we do is a drawing. So you can call it tutoring if you'd like, but that's not what it is. So let's go back. I want to make sure people are clear. There is a poll on the channel that I would love you to participate in. So what you get in the drawing at the end of our live stream, if you win the drawing, is a 30-minute coaching call. You can call it tutoring. It's your 30 minutes. Do whatever you want. I don't call it tutoring because, once again, I don't sell 30-minute increments of tutoring. And I don't want people getting confused when I put this in the playlist. And it says tutoring because I can see already people are going to go, I want to buy 15 minutes of tutoring or 30 minutes of tutoring. You can share it. You can you sign it to somebody else. If you're like Eric and you've already passed and Eric wins, if he enters and he wins, he now has that. It's like an option. He can assign it to someone else. You could form a syndicate and share it together. You could show up with your cohort. What do you want? When you win, if you win, what I send you is a Zoom invitation for Thursday the 19th at 5 p.m. And then I'll be there. And if nobody's there, then, I call it all a day. So I just want you to be clear what that drawing is about, what it's not about. I don't want to have it be movable one because then it messes me up in my schedule. My schedule's pretty full. Okay. Let's see where are we at. So that was, let's see where I'm at in the chats. Just finished another. Got 86. Eli, well, I can't imagine you're not going to make it with an 86 this time. Vanguard and down. Vanguard crew member. Love Vanguard. I'm a big fan of Vanguard. It looks like I'm behind here in the chat. There's Eric. Okay, now I'm back on track. 77. Yeah, that's great. Zelda, I don't think you got any problems. That's right where you need to be. So rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Yeah, past perfect, Oscar. Just got to be careful they don't take you into the weeds too much. So I told you, I don't worry about past perfect giving you not enough information. I do worry about them giving you too much. So just be careful. We'll stay on the broad avenues and highways. And my other issue, Oscar, is I know some firms make you use past perfect. And I know they have I don't know, there's a term for it. I'm not sure what I call it, like programmed locked learning or something, where they won't let you go to unit 19 until you've demonstrated mastery of unit 18. And I just don't like that because it could be the past perfect margin. Like Erica sent me a margin question from past perfect. Oh my God, you have to be a margin clerk to figure it out. There you go. I love it. Love it. Well, I'm heavy on that, RC. I think at least I usually ask as a fake accountability partner, how many practice exams am I going to see from you? Right. And then we talk about that. But you got to at least, what do you think? I think at least 3. What do you think, Brian?
At least 3. Yeah.
I mean, I would rather err. I'm probably heavier than others on this, but I would err on too many practice exams, rather than not enough. Now, practice exams aren't learning. They're to do intellectual inventories. Now, you will pick up some things along the way. Like, I think you should learn non-equity options by missing questions about it. I don't think you should spend a half a day on non-equity options. But more importantly, it's a mark to market on where you're at. So, you want to at least do one after you kind of read the book. I just had a guy who said he finished the book. I said, we'll take a practice file now, kind of get a mark, intellectual inventory. And then I'd like to see, you got to do one at least another one before you test, like whether it's the day before, depending on your confidence, or the day before, that's 2. And then, maybe a couple more in there. So I would say 3 or 4. Yeah, Brian.
May I interject?
Of course.
Along with those simulated exams, especially on the Kaplan platform, make sure you run the performance tracker after each simulated exam. That will pinpoint exactly where your weakest areas
Yeah,
are.
that Kaplan Q Bank is can be manipulated in good ways for you. That's one great thing about the Kaplan Q Bank. Yeah, I would expect Oscar. It's a fair game to ask you about a short account. I would know the classical margin equation short, which is credit balance minus short market value equals equity. I have a lecture 2542. So on 2542 in the replay, I'll put a little short margin lecture there for you. But you should definitely know that. You should know 30%, credit by 1.3. But I wouldn't be surprised, Oscar, if you told me you didn't see anything. But I wouldn't be surprised if you told me you did see something. What do you think, Brian?
Is this for the 9?
No, I think it's a 7. Yeah, make sure, Oscar, if that's the 7, yeah, please put Q as 7 so we know what exam you're talking. I'm assuming Oscar.
I still don't think there's going to see too much of it.
Yeah, I don't either. If you tell
maybe one.
I'll put it this way, Oscar. If you tell me you missed the mark on the 7 because of short margin, I'm going to say, you had some bigger problems, my friend. I think we did that one already. There, we did that. Did that short margin. Okay, I'm trying to. If you recommend a study plan, I'll link at due diligence at 2635. I'll link Brian's little free video on YouTube about his study plan. It's excellent. 2642. And you can watch Brian tell you about how to execute a study plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I told you this. I've gotten a couple of comments from people saying, why are you putting this how to study? This is test taking 101. And I say, well, a lot of people don't have that real study plan in place.
Well, again, Erica, I told you my biggest fear for you is to go down some short margin rabbit hole. So, I'm worried about helping you on stuff that I don't think the help is worthwhile in this regard. It might take on more epic proportions than necessary. But I'm more than happy I told you I'm going to link a short margin lecture in the replay, so you can watch that if you'd like. And as you've been doing, just send me emails with questions. I'm more than happy to work them for you. Happy Tuesday, Victorious Test Taker. Victorious Test Taker in the house.
Vija, yes.
No, I say this all the time. I can't tell you how many times. 3 to 4 max, and they're straightforward. So I even call my margin lecture, don't overdose on margin. It's, again, it's like we told Oscar, if you say you missed the mark because of margin, now I'm assuming you're talking 10, my bad.
Yeah, seriously.
Still same thing. You should definitely know the classical margin equations, long and short. You should definitely know maintenance, and you should definitely know market value at maintenance. Right. So, but again, not heavily tested on the 10 either. It makes sense because they know we have a margin department that does that, and computers are very good at doing mark to market. So general understanding. And then swimmer, remember you're babysitting 7s. So you got to, be prepared to get involved in the discussion with a confused rep and a confused customer about margin. People are easily confused, and always study the bad news, not the good news. So they're not going to test you as a 10 about, buying power and everything's going according to plan. It's all very negative. And, it's a lot of judgment questions too, not so much math. I wish it was more math. It's not. It's a lot of scenarios. Andy Schwab. Hey, Jalen, I got to tell you, I don't know if you still have that great shorter to cook there, but who would have thought at Indianapolis is Schwab, what do you call it? Cafeteria? I don't know. Maybe there's a galley. They have the best breakfast burritos ever. They did when I was there anyways. I used to look forward to teaching classes on Schwab campus and going early and getting my breakfast burrito. St. Louis and Prudential, there you go, a piece of the rock. I don't know if the Prudential still calls themselves the Rock.
Their logo is.
Yeah, I think it still is. Brand new, David. I seen you, I think, on the channel. Yeah, Vanguard's a great place to start your career, great company. So, people don't understand Vanguard's business model, David. Oh, my God. I have progressive friends who think that everybody in the securities industry is evil. And this guy was talking about, how boring the securities industry is. And then he obviously, David, doesn't know that Vanguard is owned by its shareholders because he was making it sound like Vanguard is, obviously uninformed, ripping off mutual fund shareholders. I go, well, that would be the owners. I don't think that's quite what's going on. So there you go. Well, Eli, man, I mean, you're going to find your points for sure. I think that's pretty much what you should expect. That's very much. I told you, I love having victorious test takers help us out because, otherwise you got to take Dean and Brian's word. Our word is good, but, sometimes hearing somebody who went in the cave and slayed the dragon, maybe, can confirm it. Callers, I think I told you, Eli, I do have a video on callers. It's where you sell the call to pay for the put. I don't know. I think it's fair game. I think if you got a T and you track the money, I think you can, with a T in contract specifications, Eli, where it's a 4, a 9, a 7, you can get every option question right because you can reverse engineer the numbers that are being offered to you as break even or break evens if it's a more sophisticated strategy. And then, Eli, I'm glad the video helped. The other one I have is on Butterfly's advanced options on the 4 list. And I think I told you, I'm not sure it's in the 9 playlist, but there's a Butterfly lecture in the Series 4 playlist. Ooh, 5 tries, Stephen.
Wow.
Or Stefan. Oh man, I love that. I had a broker work for me named Troy, and he's one of my top producers, and he too took the test 5 times. And I thought it was so funny because he had the assumptive close. I was just going to keep sending him back down there. So, I didn't blame anybody. Just I'll get it next time, assuming that, he had it next time. But then proof that people invest with you because they like you and they trust you, not because you passed the test. He used to go out to people and say, if anybody knows this stuff, it's me. I took the damn test 5 times. So welcome. The other thing I like that is nobody at the firm can be telling you some sob story about, trying to take them past the test. So you should get, I don't know, some kind of extra something. Raymond James, great research department. They're noted for their research. I have never heard any negative things about Raymond James. So, it's a full service firm, so that's a little different than Vanguard. I mean, the job at Vanguard is way different. Now, I don't know if you're in Florida at the home office of Raymond James or you're going to be in the production at Raymond James. But, they allow a lot of independence to their branch managers or kind of like independent contractors, if you will. So it just depends where you're at, Raymond James. But again, it's like test prep vendors, Brian. I get so upset when people blame Past Perfect or STC or Kaplan because they missed their mark on their exam when all those providers are up to the task. And it's the same I feel when people are, blaming the firm about how the firm is why they can't make it work. I'm like, particularly if it's a firm like Vanguard or Fidelity or Raymond James, whatever the case may be. Welcome, Sandra. Welcome. 20 practice exams. Well, listen, I think too much is better than not enough. So abundance is better than scarcity. So like I said, I'd rather have people do too many. A lot of people wait and they don't find out there's remediation necessary until it's too late. Right.
Do the performance tracker.
Performance tracker. There you go. I'm not pushing back. Yeah, I think that's a great thing to do. What you can do, Sandra, what I always recommend for people for the channel as a free supplement or Brian's paid supplement to use it to confirm test issues. So, if you have more than one vendor, and I don't think people are monogamous. I mean, I don't think you're just going to watch my channel or do Brian's thing. You're probably going to do other things. But what you're looking for is confirmation. If somebody says something once, you never see it again. Maybe it was Dean on a rant, If you see I've talked about it, Brian's talked about it, it's in your study materials, it's on the test. And Sandra, I've had cohorts who are now using my my videos, and they tell me that one of their favorite lines, I guess people are quoting my verbal tics. I have verbal tics, Brian. And, one of my verbal tics is to tell you, hey, listen, you missed this. Angels weep for you. And they now tell me they walk around. I got in trouble with a firm I worked for because I used to use the Marine term. When somebody would tell me something, I'd say it's beyond my pay grade. And so then the company actually came to me and said, Dean, will you stop telling people that? Because now everybody's running around saying it's not beyond their pay grade. Well, there you go. If you got to lay an entire new base, that's big time. There you go. From LinkedIn, William, welcome from LinkedIn. I have all the math needed to pass the test. Pay attention to that title, William. I did not say all the math on the Series 7. I said all the math needed to pass the 7. So I'd recommend that. It's a laundry list lecture, William, that people ask for, where I just start and go through the math. And I can't tell you how many people will tell me, well, gee, Steve, this isn't in there. I said, I didn't say it's all the math. I said it's all the math that's necessary. The other one I'd recommend, William, this is 3511. So at 3511, I'll link to these videos for you. The other one, it's the most popular lecture in my channel, and it's called Tips, Tricks, and Memory Aids for the Series 7. It's got like 50,000 views, William. So those would be the other two I would add to that. And I'll put that in the video description of this replay so you can find them pretty easily. Ugh, I hate those scores, man. Yeah, lots of suitability. Suitability I taught, Brian. So I always tell people the 3 styles of questions you get on your exam are recognition, practical application, and judgment. And almost all the suitability questions are judgment, right? So you got to kind of look at it. And a lot of times you can get into a 50-50. I have a couple questions and Brian has a couple questions that we take heat for because it's a suitability question. And it's not that the answer Brian is offering or I'm offering you in my version of these questions is wrong. It's just that it's not the best answer given the fact set, giving the context. And so, those are tough. So having another Kaplan Q bank and just doing more questions. You want to avoid memorizing questions. I don't know, Brian, what you were scoring on STC, but the other thing that Kaplan's Q bank is, I think, one of the best is it has depth. There's like 3,400 questions, so it's unlikely you're going to memorize all the Kaplan questions. And if you work hard on STC, it is possible where you're, B, D, A, and you're not really getting anything out of that. Well, Erica, I told you what you need to know for a straddle. You got to be able to identify it. You got to be able to calculate the break evens. You got to determine where it's profitable and when do you use it. So, it's an advanced option strategy at 3658 and the timestamp. I'll link to a lecture on straddles. But again, if you tell me you missed the mark because of straddles, I'm going to say you had bigger problems, right? So be careful, right? So you're going to be just asked to calculate the break evens, determine where it's profitable, identification, and when do you use it. So those are the four test questions. When do you use it, Erica, is Brian's point about suitability, right? You're expecting volatility, but direction's uncertain, or you're expecting the trading range, right? So that's a suitability question on options. Well, I'd be prepared, Oscar, to do break evens. You just bought Brian's supplement package. I hope to use the Guru 20. I like to cut into his margin.
I like you to cut into it too.
I would definitely, Oscar, be prepared to do break even. So I know some people who, I don't know what I want to say. How am I going to say this? Offer people shortcuts. And the shortcuts, when it doesn't work on an option question, they say, well, you're not going to see that. I'm not comfortable with that. So I want you to make sure you intellectually own options. That you can actually figure out the break even, the contract specification, what it means to say your short of put is an obligation to buy. So I'm not comfortable telling you you're not going to see calculations, break even particularly. I think you should be prepared to do break even on all the strategies. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, they have reduced the number of actual calculations. A lot of them are suitability questions, but they're still both. And since you have my Series 7 package, I think I have a really good Series 7 options practice exam. There's like 43 questions. I think they're very, very close to what you're going to see on the test.
Oscar, that's also in the channel. And I just used it in a tutoring session. I usually start a tutoring session by what kind of tutoring session do you want? Do you want it to be formal with slides? You want a whiteboard? What do you want to do? Practice questions. And we did that as together on a shared whiteboard, Brian. And again, I'm always singing your praise. I'm like, oh man, these are pretty damn good questions. I haven't visited them in a while. I go, man, these are pretty good. So you can also watch that on the channel as well. It's always better to have that physical copy, and you got Brian's full package, so I'm not worried about you. The other thing, Oscar, I would say is that remember the 3 styles of question: recognition, practical application, judgment. Break evens, calculations are practical application. So you want to be able to do math because there's no interpretation of a math question. You simply get it right or you get it wrong, and you need those. So, I'm not a big fan who likes math. I mean, I'm terrible at math, so I use a calculator. But, there's no interpretation of like what's current yield or what's the break even. So you got to embrace that. If you're not a math person, You got to embrace that. I'm not going to give up any math questions because there's nothing beyond, basic arithmetic, which I told you I can miss. But, there you go. Chart out 4 spreads. The profitable just took me a bit to, you just, again, David, don't panic. I always tell people, take a strategic pause, think it through. Now, by the way, David, if you know contract specifications, there's literally 10, I guess, spread lectures in my playlist for options. But if you take a deep breath and you go through the contract specifications, okay, I have a choice to buy Apple at 150. I've got an obligation to sell Apple at 160. You can reverse engineer debit and all that kind of stuff if you know contract specifications. Well, again, I don't know, Stefan, where you're at Ameriprise. Are you at the home office in Minnesota? Are you, an Ameriprise person out there building a book of business? I mean, again, Ameriprise was doing financial planning before it was cool.
Wow.
I mean, so
first company I ever interviewed with.
Where was it? IDS back then, or is it still Ameriprise?
Yeah, it was IDS in Corvallis, Oregon.
Yeah, and they were owned by American Express for a while. So
that's right. Yeah.
Wow, well, that's crazy, John. I mean, that's not usually. I mean, the guy at Kaplan is named Chuck Lowenstein. So, that's an anomaly to hear somebody say that they got blindsided by something they hadn't seen in question. Did you do the entire QBank? What was your QBank usage rate? I would be interested in that. Consider on the 65 playlist, I have 5 different practice exams there. I've got one that I've done, one that Brian's did. I got a Kaplan, I got a Mometric. So there's some more resources there for you. There you go. Schwabies. I hope you guys who were Schwabies have read Chuck's book called Invested. It's a great little memoir on the history of the Schwab, and in telling that story, he also has a history of the securities industry. Cheers, El Paso. Zelda Chivas.
Are those full-blown practice exams?
Yeah, I'm worried. Like, at first, I was like, okay, that's great. But now I'm kind of like, are Zelda's biggest fan? I don't know if you're Zelda or Zelda's biggest fan, but now I'm a little worried. But better to do too much than not enough. Better to do too much than not enough. Okay, well, we want to, so just so you know, Zelda, you want to be in the 70% range. So, by the way, I've had people go on a Kaplan and get as low as 58 and pass, but that's not where you want to be. 50, I say below 70, you're at risk. Didn't say you're not going to pass, you're just at risk. And if you want to get out of that risk category, you need to push that into the 70 range. There you go. Well, it's just like going to a new thing, Victoria. So you got one testing victory. And, you're going to, as you begin your study journey, you're going to probably feel a little, pressure on that, but don't let it bother you. Just, do what you did on your own. Dig in, lay some base, and start working your way through it. As I always say, Victoria, inch by inch, the Series 7 is a cinch. Yard by yard, Series 7 is hard. So take it out in small bites, Yeah, there you go. There you go. The other thing I love about our Tuesday live streams, thanks so much, Victoria. Who was it? Somebody was sitting good energy there. I think it was Victoria. Anyways, if you need somebody to, there you go. Zelda sitting in some good energy. One thing I like about the live stream, if you're suffering, you're on your own and it's kind of hard. I mean, the family can be helpful. We had a student whose family was just wonderful. And she was posting on social media pictures of her kids helping her study for her exam, and it's wonderful. But if you need a community, you need some persons to talk to, we're here every Tuesday, and that's part of the process as well. So come over here, get a little boost when we have one of those victorious test takers show up, and get your boost, and then go back to work. Right? Say enough bad. Would you recommend watching your beginning options? I would. Sure. Why not? My first 3 videos in the playlist are a must watch. That's where I go through all the strategies. Then the rest of them are just, whatever you want to pick from the list. There you go. I'm glad to hear that. I see you got a basketball in your profile. I've got my basketball games queuing up right now. 7 weeks, plenty of time. We have anybody else from Raymond James in the house? No Cam Studios is asking. Yeah, listen, I understand it's a slog. I understand it's a slog. It took me forever to do a practice exam for the 24s and the 9s and 10s, and partly just because it's just that. It takes like hours to, to get through it. And that's even from somebody who knows it. So I get it, guys. I get it. You just gotta. Yeah, 66. Any tips? I think we have some videos for you. Buy Brian's paid supplement.
We have lots of tips for you. Yeah.
Lots of tips. Yeah. That one was free. Buy the supplement.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm teasing, but 66. Remember, about half of it. I'll be serious now. People either struggle with, so people miss their mark. A couple of things in common: negative energy, I guess. But the people miss their mark, I think, have a little bit of hubris coming off their 7, and they kind of think, well, gee, what can they ask me about investment vehicles? I don't know. And there's a little different flavor on that 66 on the investment component. So I joke it's a different dragon to be slayed. And then, or they struggle with the other half, which is the regulatory framework. So it's not quite 50-50, but that's kind of what it is. So I would just make sure that, you spend the time to make sure you've mastered, both of those sections of the exam. I love it. Love it. Great attitude. Okay. So we just find you some points. Yep. I think what we want to do is, what was your scores, Lynn, on practice exams? And you're using, you finished rereading the Kaplan book. You're using the Q Bank. Yep. Okay. So I would be interested in what your scores on your practice tests are. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but you might want to consider a supplement if you are not breaking through on that range we need you to be in, which is that 70 range. And if you were in the 70 range before on those practice exams, I'd like to know that as well. I love it. There you go. So what do you got left, Pineapple? You got the 63 would be my guess. Are you doing the 63 and then the 65 or just the 63? 7, there you go. Woohoo. 20, I think there's more than that. I was just working maybe it was the SIE Q Bank. I was in the Q Bank with somebody the other day and I thought it was more than 2,400. But do you know, Brian?
I don't.
Yeah, I think it's more than that.
If they've changed since.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they took me up on telling them to call the Q Bank a little bit. Well, I don't know. I mean, that's up to you. That means a lot of work. I come from the sales side of the business, Raul, so I would tell you that I think doing all those would interfere with me making 6 figures because I'd be busy studying instead of finding customers. So if I were your manager, it would scare me that you want to do all of that. I would say, well, why don't you pace yourself, my friend? Time management, you can only do so much. So if accountability partner, when I ask people to commit, I would like you to commit to X number of study blocks. A study block would be 45 minutes, an hour and a half, depending on your concentration level. And I'd want 3 or 4 a day. And I wouldn't want you studying all day because it's impossible. So, maybe you do 4 study blocks of an hour and a half, changing subject to each study block and changing activity. Like if you're doing questions, then do reading. If you're doing reading, then watch a video, whatever. And that's what I would hold you accountable for. And that's what I think you should do. Or if you're your own accountability partner, that's what I would recommend. So if your employer is giving you that time, so time sure you're, executing a study plan with study blocks. So 3 or 4 study blocks. And if you're next week, we want to see some practice exams. So, where you're going to fit that in. Yeah. Any comments on that one, Brian?
No, I like it. That's exactly right.
Whoop. That's me. I don't know why that's in there. The name of the video where you go over Brian's stuff, it always have his logo. It'll see all of Brian's stuff is branded with a thumbnail that says Test Geek. So you just go in the playlist and you could look for the Test Geek thumbnail. And Brian's given me permission to do some more, but in every playlist, there's a test, except for the principal exams. Well, the 24 there is. But almost every playlist has a Test Geek practice final in it. And it has the Test Geek logo. It tells you what it is. So. It doesn't have a name. It's just practice test. I know the 66 is practice test 2 because the one I put up there, it was practice test 1. So Brian's in the 66 playlist would be practice test 2. But it tells you it's a Test Geek final. There's not, Jen. I've been trying to think of a way to be more accessible to people, Jen. And so what I've been thinking about doing, I don't know if you follow this at Varsity Tutors, Brian, but Varsity Tutors has been doing this thing where you pay them $800 and you get these modules. And I used to, Jen, do modules, and there's a poll I'm taking right now where I'm thinking about, so don't hold me to this, Jen, but I'm thinking about doing once a month a couple option modules, where again, you get a Zoom invite. I'm thinking basic options, $45, advanced options, $55. And it'd be a class kind of a thing. And then I'm thinking, Jim, what I would add is a module for mutual munis, for example, mutual funds. And then, Jim, my idea would be, it wouldn't be through 2-3 day crash course, but would have modules. I teach the 2-3 day crash course for Kaplan on the public schedule, but I don't teach again until the second quarter. I'm taking the first quarter off. So there is all kinds of crash courses. I highly recommend, obviously, Kaplan, but you can go to kaplanfinancial.com, look at the schedule.
Dean, are they in-person classes?
Oh, I missed that. See, RTFQ. I didn't read the full question. No, I know nobody doing. I talked
to a gentleman today who took an in-person.
Oh, really?
5-day Series 65 class.
Wow. Well, Jen,
do 5 days of Series 65.
Well, I think guys probably want some money.
And I told him I didn't know there were many.
I'll put up another poll, Jen. I'll put up another poll. So I had, just before the pandemic, had Kaplan agree to teach in-person classes in Las Vegas. But with or without Kaplan, Jen, I'd be interested. I'll put up a poll, and if there's enough people, maybe I'll put an in-person class in Vegas up and see what happens. Maybe we can come in and ask Brian to do a guest lecture or two for us, because he's got a place in the Vegas as well. So anyways, I'll put up a, Jen, interesting thing in the chat. Tell me what you think about live classes in Vegas. Maybe once a quarter, Jen. I don't think I want to do it every month, but maybe once a quarter. You bring your family, you can go to the shows. Just keep working, Kate. Do you have a practice final score? So, Kate, where are you at in your study effort? So if it's Thursday, basically you're going to shut down your study effort tomorrow at some point and get a good night's rest. So I know you, Kate, you know what's coming next. I have a Series 65 in 60 minutes. You want to check out the video descriptions, by the way. It's amazing, Brian. Yep. People like it, and it gives them a couple points. So I'll tell you what, Kate, I'll timestamp 5219. I'll link that video called Series 65 in 60 minutes. I made it, Kate, for people to listen to on their way to the exam or the night before their exam, just to get you in the rhythm. You're not going to pass based on that video, but it might give you, because most people don't wake up naturally and start thinking 65 stuff. That's not a natural thinking place to be. So I'll link that there for you. Which one would benefit you the most? Well, I don't know. It's like children. I mean, I do, Andrew, tell people when they buy Brian's supplement to put that practice exam, the Test Geek practice exam, somewhere safe and save it as their last intellectual inventory before they test. So I would say save Brian's. Mine is based on debrief. I think I have 3 or 4 of them. They're based on debrief. So, you can find points there for sure. But I think, yeah, obviously I wouldn't put them in there if I didn't get benefit. Benefit most is kind of a loaded question. I'm not sure about that. I, obviously spend hours writing and, doing my own. So I think I don't have a favorite, so to speak. In terms of correlation, diagnostic, Brian's my favorite. But in terms of, debrief, I like mine. So I'm not sure, David, what you're sorry about. Maybe I missed something.
The questions on Kaplan's QBank.
Sorry. Oh, there you go. Okay.
3297.
Okay. That sounds more like what I was thinking. What does your SIE package entail, Brian?
All the testable content.
Yeah, so here's
between the textbooks and the real exam. Same as all the other ones. It's a basic process. You get superfluous, extraneous material from textbooks, but it forms the foundation and base of your studying. Then you take a class, such as mine, such as Dean's, which then concentrates solely on the core content of the exam, the stuff that everybody gets, the stuff you got to be really rock solid on. That's what our course is. It's what Dean's course, it's what my course, and any good course should have, is the good core content test concepts.
Yeah, I think that I love it. I love it. I like I said, I don't think it's time to get frugal, on stuff. So, spend some money. I mean, if you don't have the money, I get it. Sometimes Brian does allow a little bit of a scholarship program sometimes. I hope I haven't abused it, because I'm usually the one who puts them on the spot with saying, hey, how about a scholarship for this person? But, you know, if you have the resources.
Yeah.
I'll
So
make
it
sure
illustrates all the content. It's got the class notes and a practice final and a few extra questions.
There you go. So he did purchase, Len purchased your Series 7 material. Great. Study strategies, recommend a week testing for the Series 7. Yeah, you should almost be transitioning doing practice questions, RC. Practice questions is what you should be, you know, doing. Brian, do you follow that? I continue to lay base, but primarily you'd want to know where you're at. I'm looking at the video, man. My hair's
one practice exam per day. Well, again, what I generally recommend is a Kaplan simulated exam.
Yeah.
Run the performance tracker. Find the weak areas.
I think once a day is one a day is a little much, don't you think?
That's right. So the next day you work solely on those weak areas,
Yeah.
and then the following day you do a simulated exam. So I'm doing a simulated exam every other day.
No.
And the weak areas in between.
Daniel, the answer is absolutely not. You do need to know the depreciation is a non-cash expense. No, you're only going to get 2 or 3 partnership questions. It's like margin. All the test prep vendors go way, way overboard on direct participation programs. Wow. Daniel, would know that depreciation is a non-cash expense. So the cash flow would, you know, you throw back into the depreciation basically. Overkill. There you go. Yeah, Kaplan bought the CFP. Kaplan bought the College of Financial Planning. I didn't know you could buy it. But, you know, yes, it was for sale. Yeah, so we're talking about what we can do. You know, so Brian and I are, you know, talking about collaborations. Maybe that would be a good one, because we, you know, I could share the load, so to speak. Potential 9-10 thoughts on time frame. Well, Kyle, if you're already in production, you know, when you're doing business, I just spread them out. Do the 7 first, and I think those could be done. Some people that do that in 6 months, but that's precedent. What do you think? 12 months, Brian?
Yeah, at least 6.
Brian, I've been meaning to get up a 57 practice test, so I just haven't done it. That would be in the playlist at some point here in the near future. I just haven't got to it. So I don't know if Kaplan offers the 57 anymore. So okay, it's time for our drawing. What should we have for our chat word? Anybody got any ideas? Brian, you want to put the chat word? How I know what we'll put for our drawing. We'll put Test Geek.
There you go.
Okay, so let me hold on. So let me get this open.
I haven't had to write on my board today.
I know we had a lot of people just talking about other things, but that's okay. You know, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Let's share screen. And let's go here. Can you guys see Brian, can you see the Test Geek?
I can indeed. I like it.
Okay, so put Test Geek in there for the drawing, and we'll hit the button when we get some entries in there. And once we get enough entries, we will do our 30 minutes. So remember, if you win, then you know, send me an email. I'll put my email back up here before we call it a day, and then you tell me, you know that you're the winner. Okay, we got 12 entries. Any more coming in?
1 in 12.
Let me get rid of Brian's comment here. Brian, let me, come on. My mouse is acting up. Okay, there we go. Okay, 13, last call. Okay, here we go. Drawing is commencing.
And the winner is
Kyle Riley. All right, Kyle. So remember, let's just go back. Let me put that up there for you. Boom.
I still like that program. That's a pretty cool program.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun. So there's my email, Kyle. Send me an email within 1 hour of the close of our live stream, which is coming shortly. and you will receive a Zoom invite for Thursday, the 19th at 5 p.m. You can use that 30 minutes yourself. You can give it to someone else. You can share it, have other people join you on the call. It's for any FINRA or NASA exam that you would like to use it for. Okay, let me get rid of that. Okay, any last minute things here, comments wise, before we call it a night? Last call. Yeah, Mark, you know what I hate about the drawing? Mark, I thought you were going to get it because your name was right there. And then it went to Kyle. So, by the way, it doesn't, if you can put Test Geek in there as many times you want, it won't affect the wheel of fortune, so to speak. So it doesn't increase your odds if you put Test Geek in the chat like 10 times. All right. Anything else? Every Tuesday. Yeah, Noah. So every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, Las Vegas, we do our live stream. Most times Brian doesn't join us. Sometimes he's got a hockey game or something else, but usually I'm here every Tuesday. And Brian, I think, has only missed one Tuesday. Thursdays we do our premieres. This Thursday we do a premiere for the 63. Not every Thursday do we have our premiere, but most Thursdays we do. Our Reddit communities, we have a Reddit community for the 7, a Reddit community for 9, 10s, and 24s. We're 6s and SIE 7s. Those are our sister Reddit communities. Those are open 24/7, helping test takers. Let's see, we got a couple more chats here. Tuesday, 65, missed with a 70. Yeah, hopefully, Noah, we'll get it for you. If you want to syndicate, yeah. So, Kyle, if you do decide to syndicate, form a syndicate for your coaching call, I don't want to find out you're selling, for $20 or $30.
6-pack of beer.
There you go. Brian, I don't have free remedial sessions. I mean, I can consider it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the channel is free. There's 300 hours and 312 videos over 300 hours are free. So, Brian, right now, free doesn't speak to me, but if you, who knows? I might, if I could find a way. So, what was it today? A live class in Vegas. I take polls, Brian, and if you want to send me an email, you can do so. And if I could find a way to incorporate a weekly something for people, I'm not opposed to that. If I can make it easy, like that 5 p.m. coaching call. So, if it's a set time once a week, I'm not completely opposed to it, but I just, like I say, it's hard to keep track of everything I got going on. So let's see what else we got. Next week, Zelda. By that point, you should add 54. There's Kyle. So there's our winner. Woo! There's our winner. And Pacific time, yep. The Reddit, Marcel, my New Orleans friend is R465, R66. So you go on Reddit, it's R66. It's for the 63, the 65, and 66. I'm not a Facebook person, but I know some people are Facebook people. I'm not, but I did create a Facebook page. It's called Series 7 Guru. If that's the way you want to access me, but most of the time it's YouTube and the Reddits is where my main thing is. All right, so guys, see you next week. Okay, Kyle, I'll be looking for your email, and like I say, you can do what you'd like with your coaching call. I do, Kyle, like to get an agenda of what you like to do. It's not necessary. I mean, I can just show up and you can tell me what you want to do, but it'd be helpful if you told me what exam it is and what you'd like to accomplish in your session. Okay. Okay. Remember, inch by inch, your series exams are a cinch. Yard by yard, they're hard. And Brian,
you take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right. See you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.